Hello. Well, I was just given a change of instructions. Somebody, I think one of Chairman Rogers' staff said, instead of speaking about economic development, can you change your keynote to solve the problems of the world? Um, it's going to take more than 10 or 15 minutes for that. Again, Bob Schena, CEO of Ragent Corporation. Thank you for the kind words, Carlos. And it's true. What Carlos said about becoming friends with folks down here. This has been a really wonderful experience for me, meeting people of Eastern Kentucky, and really at a later stage of life. I know I'm approaching 70 now, so I'm looking that in the eye. And I'm a guy from Jersey City, New Jersey, and Philly, so this was unexpected. And I do, as much as I enjoy Eastern Kentucky, I do encourage improvement in pizza. I think that's one of the things that will draw in additional high-tech investment in the region is pizza and maybe calzone, some fresh pasta. I would highly recommend that. But this story began. How did Ragent Corporation, a company making communications technology in eastern Pennsylvania, how did we find our way to the 5th Congressional District? And it was, I had a lobbyist by the name of his name was Bob Schuster, and he was a lawyer for me as well. His father is a fellow by the name of Bud Schuster, who was a very powerful congressman from Pennsylvania, particularly in the areas of highways. I mean, if you stood still too long in central Pennsylvania, you were going to get paved over by Bud Schuster. He just had a thing for building roads. And when Chairman Rogers was elected in 1980, he hit it off with Bud Schuster, who was a very powerful congressman and acted as a mentor to Hal Rogers. So his son was Bud Schuster's son was my lawyer. And we were reaching a point at Ragent. We were selling radios to the military and mining industry, coincidental to the interest in mining here in Eastern Kentucky. And he said, Bob, I know you're interested in expanding. Have you ever considered Eastern Kentucky? And I'm like, why, no, I have not. Why would I possibly consider Eastern Kentucky? And he's like, well, manufacturing there can be done cheaper than in China. And I'm thinking, okay, he's giving me a sales pitch for Eastern Kentucky for some reason. And he goes, well, do you know who Chairman Rogers is? I said, well, I'm aware of who he is. I've never met him and haven't had the opportunity. He goes, well, he said, I think I can arrange through Chairman Rogers' office to get you a tour of the 5th Congressional District. And so I said, okay, why not? I'm always willing to try things out. So through Chairman Rogers' office, I had a trip arranged. They said, well, we're going to take you through the district. And I'm going to say, well, that's probably a couple hours. And they're like, no, it's bigger. You have to pack provisions. It'll be 2 days. I'm like, wow, this is different. And so I fly down, and I'm met at the airport by Brett Travert right here. And I like to say, from the moment I met Brett, that's now 7+ years ago, literally everybody I met on that tour of the district, 7 or 8 towns, starting at Morehead State, and everybody I've met since, individuals, elected officials, pretty much across the gamut of the community. Everybody has been great to me, and everybody has kept their promises. Extraordinary, really. I was welcomed everywhere I went. Our first stop was Morehead State University, and the only thing I had known a little bit about was that Phil Simms had been from the New York Giants, because I'm from the New York metro area. I'm a Giants fan. So I knew about Phil Simms. I had no idea about Morehead State, and Brett said, well, they have some space and science center thing there going on. And I'm like, oh, okay. So we roll up, and there's this huge dish up on the hill behind the university. I think it's 67 feet. There's a smaller one nearby, and then the Space and Science Center is this spectacular facility. I went in, and I think Jeff Kruth was the fellow came up to me and said, "You are the answer to my dreams." And I thought, man, what is this man eating at night? What is he talking about? And he takes me around this facility, and there's these undergraduates hand building satellites. It was really was beyond impressive. I mean, they were not just designing them or studying them; they were actually constructing them, and every element of them. They were designing the cases. They were fabricating. They were doing hardware development. They were doing software development, power supply development, antenna development, and testing all of this stuff. And I think at the time they had 6 CubeSats in space, and it was shocking to me. I mean, how the level of education these young folks were getting, and very practical, not theoretical. So we toured around the rest of the district, and Brett said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Well, everybody's great. That's the one place that really intrigues me is Morehead State." So we worked out in a kind of a partnership with Ben Malfris there, and I think it was Dr. Andrews, president of the university, to try to figure out how to work together. And we leased a 10,000 square foot building, the old Napa Auto Parts building, and we turned that into an office down there. And we started with the idea we were going to build Ragent radios in that facility, and our radios they have to be very rugged. They're extremely sophisticated. They're used in the mining industry, oil and gas, rail, ports, robotics, drones. At the time, we also had the National Football League as a customer, and we really wanted exceptional employees because the work needs to be well done. Our customers, we have networks in mines now approaching 15 years with no network downtime over a decade and a half, and that's mines with hundreds of vehicles, each with a Ragent radio on it. They run 24/7. They only change drivers at the end of the shift. They literally don't turn the machines off. So we're known for extremely reliable product, and we needed the folks here to build a product with that goal in mind. And so we hired a bunch of interns, brought them up to Philly. I think they arrived on a weekend. We were having to assemble radios for National Football League, the first radios that would be delivered by us to them, and it was for coach to coach communications. And each coach was going to be wearing a Ragent radio on their hip on the sidelines, and then there'd also be radios up in the press box. So those young interns showed up on a Monday, and we put them right to work building those radios. So a lot of times when you hire people, it's 6 months before they're useful because you're training them, or it's 9 months or 12 months. The kids from Morehead, they showed up when we hired them on a Friday. They were useful on Monday, given the training they had. So it was really comforting to see them jump in and work at the quality level that they did. And so for us, it kind of cemented the idea that we were going to make a commitment to Eastern Kentucky, this region, and the 5th District. So we started to expand, and a lot of these young folks not only got involved with the production, but also the servicing of technology and the servicing of networks around the world. We have a handful of folks from our Morehead office they've probably been to 40 countries at this point. They've been to every continent but Antarctica, which we are working on. There's some folks, like our former mayor, I just love to send to Antarctica, but Jim Tom, because he'll get them organized down there. Yeah. So we built out this facility, And the workers have been great. The community has been great. I can't say this enough. So, Chairman Rogers and his staff have been spectacular from the first day. Sked through Brett. I mean, they helped us in multiple ways, which I'll touch on. And we started to build from Mayor Jim Tom to Rocky Atkins, the state rep, to the president of the university, to the first governor. Every elected official, party makes no difference here. Everybody helped us. Everybody said they would do something, and everybody that said they were going to do something did it, which I can assure you is not my experience in southeastern Pennsylvania. Matter of fact, I use another metric up there. I know whatever they tell me they're going to do, I know that's not going to happen. So it's a little bit George Costanza, do the opposite down here. People tend to mean what they say down here. Often it's quite confusing to me. Not been my experience. So Chairman Rogers, a few years into this program and project down here, he can be pretty persuasive. I consider him to be a persuasive man. So he, at some event, in his low-key voice with that great voice, Bob, if you really want to show your commitment to Eastern Kentucky, you really have to own property, not just rent property. And I'm like, oh, okay, hint, hint. I think that was a hint, is how I read that. So what we did is we bought a building in the industrial park in Moorhead, and it's this building here. It was a 48,000 square foot shell, and we bought the whole building. It's on 15 acres, and we built out inside about 20,000 square feet of finished space. And we are just kicking off another project to build out another 20,000 square feet in that building. So that'll give us 40,000 square feet of finished space there. Now that cool earth thing back there, that's not yet built. That we're waiting for the federal budget to be passed and all that sort of thing before we commit to that. But the building it's a spectacular building. Again, we used all local contractors. It's such an astonishingly different kind of project down here versus my experience building really in many places around the United States. Everybody pulled together to help get the project done. Now you have rules and regulations, and everybody at the local level wanted to enforce the rules and policies and permitting process and code. All that stuff was all enforced, and it all mattered. But everyone was sane in their application of the permitting process and the code process. So I often like to say up in Pennsylvania, when somebody hears elected officials here, I'm going to do a project, they look at you like how your family looks. You're sitting down around the table at Thanksgiving, and the grandmom comes out with the platter of the roast turkey, and you look at that with hunger, right? That's what you feel like up in Pennsylvania when you announce a project. The local politicians look at you as a Thanksgiving turkey to be carved. And they do. I mean, they get to carve a knife out. They got the big fork, and there's like a bunch of them with a knife and a fork, and they're carving meat off of you. And then after you're nothing but carcass, they then yell at you to stand up and run. So that's the way we're treated up there. That is not the way we're treated down here. It's extraordinarily different in the way people pull together to execute and get things done. It's very positive, and it's an entirely different experience. So I'm often asked locally, what can we do to continue to attract businesses? Just keep doing that. Honor your word. Keep your promises. Don't view a business as something to be plucked or exploited, because business is hard on the best day. When you're all of your partners are pulling for you, it's hard. And so when you have a local community that recognizes that and works with you to get things done on time in a reasonable fashion, that's a gift. And so this community has that. And SCED and SOAR and the other economic development folks in the region, combined with the local officials, as a general rule, really understand the importance of making promises and then keeping them. So I brag about the region all over the world. We're doing business in 83 countries, and I get to travel a lot. Earlier this year, I visited 16 countries in 49 days. And everywhere I go, I talk about our experience here. I also compare it to my experience in Pennsylvania, because I get the ability to juxtapose the two experiences. Also, Arizona, we have an office out there as well, and it's not as bad as Pennsylvania, but it's different than here. So what you're doing, keep doing, and you'll get the kind of results you're looking for. So in this building, I think at the bottom here, you'll see all the names of Peregrine and Hawk and ES1. Those all across the board, all the products that we now design and build at Region are manufactured in our facility in Moorhead. And so they're from very, very sophisticated things like I think the Huntsman over there on the right, we do that with Northrop Grumman. I think they may be in the room. Across the board, this is all manufactured. Almost every employee is a Moorhead State graduate. I think we're approaching the mid-40s now. This building will grow to support 100 jobs down here. They not only manufacture down here, but you see Mesh Tracer and I think BC Commander over there. And BC Enterprise, those are software products for service and support purposes. Those products were generally, in most cases, designed by our employees down here. So our service and support software that's used all over the world in all 83 countries is designed by our employees in Moorhead State. And then, on top of designing the software for serving our customers, they also serve the customers. They're the ones that respond by phone, by email, by software from all over the world to handle customer issues. And that's also just an expression of the capability of the folks here. So from software to hardware to quality certification, we're ISO 9001 certified. From a quality designation perspective, that certification process was managed by our young employees in this facility. I think we had a grant through ARC to help get our folks trained on how to go through the cert process. Then when they went through the training, they went through the process, then they imposed the process on our manufacturing here in Moorhead, Kentucky. And it's all run by, I would say, the average age of our employees running that process probably 26, maybe 27 years old. All graduates of either space and science or the university, and handling and managing the ISO cert process from start to finish, and then making sure that every year when we get audited, we pass the audit. All being done by the folks that we hired from this area. And so the quality that we maintain is higher than it's ever been, and it's a result of the people of this area working in this facility. So we're expanding. We're doubling the size. We spent many millions to acquire the building, outfit the building, train the folks, and we're about to spend millions more. I think SCED, there's a rumor they may be involved in helping us get the financing. It seems it's not quite as inexpensive as it was 5 or 6. I don't know if you've heard, but rates have gone up a little bit. I've heard that rumor, and I think I got a phone call about that the other day. But But Brett has been very instrumental in getting the original financing or helping with the original financing for the acquisition of the building, then the financing for the build out of the building, and now for continued build out of the building. So from my perspective, we're in Malvern, Pennsylvania. We're in Moorhead, Kentucky. We're in Phoenix, Arizona. We have an office outside of Milan in Novara, Italy, and we have an office in Lviv in Ukraine. So we're pretty far flung around the world. So far, the best decision we made as a company was committing to this region, to these employees, to the people of this area. It's been way more than I ever expected. I thought it was a high-risk decision, and it turned out to be a low-risk decision because it's far exceeded my expectation. I like to say in life, generally, I keep my expectations low, and they're usually met. In this case, I was surprised to the upside. The experience is one that I would recommend to the larger contractors in the room, the primes in the room. Find a way to take the opportunity to take advantage of how hard these folks work here and how happy they are for you to be here when you're here. So I would encourage any of the primes, and I do all the time. I said, it shouldn't be such a secret, and it is around the country, about the quality of the work that people deliver here, and the basic stuff that's so important. Showing up on rainy days. I like to say, up, and I tease all the time my staff up in Philadelphia, we should put damp days on the calendar. It's a little damp. Okay, don't bother coming in because it's damp. A little chilly, you got a chilly day going on. That doesn't happen down here. Cold, they show up. Rain, they show up. They wake up a little sad, they still show up. I mean, I have to have a nap room and a stuffed animal room up in Pennsylvania. So it's different. It's a little harder edge down here, and I kind of really enjoy that, and the folks they're tough, and that's a good thing. They're reliable. So I encourage folks all around the world that this place should not be a secret, and that when you do come in, they're going to welcome you in a way. I mean, whatever my perceptions were, and they were entirely uninformed. They weren't good or bad. It was just kind of like, I don't know. It's Appalachia. I really had no preconceived notions. I think I was notionless, probably more than anything. But it was really, it's a trip I have not forgotten. Brett picked me up at the airport. And literally every little town we went to, I couldn't have been treated more graciously. And I love this comment I got regularly. Well, we really love your accent. I'm like, I have no accent. What are you talking about? You have the accent. And they're like, we don't have an accent. You have an accent. And they happened to like it, which I know they didn't, but they were just being gracious, which was very kind of them. But again, I'll repeat it from that first trip. I've just really enjoyed the experience down here. Folks are really, really, look, people are human everywhere, but there is a kindness here. I think it comes from going back generation after generation that comes across, and it's very welcoming. And I, one of probably the most moving things, which I did not understand when we started to think about expanding down here, was this is an area that people are connected to the community 6, 7, 8, 10 generations, long time. And the emotional impact of keeping young people in the community was something I didn't expect and really underestimated. the idea that, we recently had a discussion with a couple of young Ragent employees at the Source Summit, and both are in their mid-20s, both are graduates of the Space and Science program, and both had jobs, offers in Texas and California. And they knew that if they went to Texas or California, they would not be back. They would be lost to this community and this region. So the opportunity for them to do their work, to take advantage of their education locally, resonated not just with them, but with their families, with their mothers, their fathers, their grandparents. And I was pleasantly surprised by that emotional impact of these jobs. So there's a loyalty that comes from that, from them, from having that opportunity, and that loyalty gets expressed in the quality of the work and just their attitude every day. So those of you who are local know what I'm talking about, but those of you who represent companies that are far-flung in large primes or larger manufacturers, I encourage you to bring that message back to your companies, that the impact you have, it will show up on your bottom line, but it'll be much more than that. You're going to make a difference in the lives of people that are really connected to the ground around here, and that's something, as a business guy, that's a bonus, that's a gift that you get beyond. Yeah, you're making your numbers, that's important, but you get more than that from connecting with this community. So I think is that my time, Brad? Have I chewed it up? You can't stop me. So anyway, that's my message to this community, and I'll keep saying it because it's true, that the folks here are special, and use the opportunity to connect with these folks. It'll pay off for your business, and it'll pay off for you in ways far beyond your business. So thank you.